Okay, so the next topic that we are going to cover is file listener. But before jumping onto the file listener, let's understand some basic um, infrastructure that needs to be there, or basic structure of any file listener. So in Pega, whatever service we develop, be it file listener, be it SOAP service, be it REST service, they all are contained within something called service package. Okay. So on the service package, we specify authentication methods and a few other settings. Okay. So service package is the first thing that we need to create any service. Doesn't matter if it is a file listener or whatever it is. Okay. Then the second thing that you need. Okay. So second thing that we need is service. Okay. So these services are contained within the service package, right? And these are specific services. These can be file listener, these can be SOAP service, these can be any other service. Okay. Then the third thing that you will need is activity, service activity. Okay. So this service activity will be invoked from the service. Okay. Whenever that service execution happens, if it is a SOAP service, someone will trigger it from outside of Pega. If it is file listener service, a file listener will watch a file, and then if it finds a file that matches the profile, it will actually um, trigger the service activity. Okay, trigger the service, which in turn will trigger the activity. Before all of these, if we talk about the file listener, there is a file listener that we will have to configure. Okay, so file listeners are again something that comes within the integration resources. So file listener. Okay. All right. So file listener will actually trigger the service package. Service package will actually trigger the service and then the service activity. So this is the basic thing. Now next thing is when you get a file, you will get certain record, right? You will get certain record. That could be first name, last name, email, right? I mean anything could be there. So you need to read this. Of course, you will need to read that. After reading that, you got to put it somewhere, right? So from to read the data from the request that's coming in case of survey SOAP service or anything, and or from the file, right? We need a special kind of rule that is called parser. Okay. So on the service, we will also need to include parser. For us, for the file service, it is going to be delimited parser. Okay. So the parser will read this data and it will put it somewhere wherever you will direct it to be to, right? It can directly put it into I mean entire data into a text field, right? Or you can basically put them into a page with different properties, right? All these individual value will go into different properties. So that basically is putting them into a clipboard, onto a clipboard. So if you're going to put that onto a clipboard, you need to define the structure of that page. If you're going to store the first name in a separate field on a page, last name separate field on a page, so you basically need some sort of data model that actually matches the profile, that data that you are getting, to put it there. That is a request. Even in the service, SOAP service or REST, you need a request class that will map all the properties coming from the request. Similarly, in the file listener too, we will need that. Okay. With this thing in mind, let's talk about and go back to the listener again. The listener needs to know from where to look the file. So location. And it also needs to look at the file naming. So that, I mean, at that location there could be multiple files coming in, right? Which type of file and what name that file should have. Okay. All right. So what we are going to do is we are going to take we are going to implement a situation where we will get the customer information for the account creation. Okay, so we will have something called first name, we will have last name, we will have email ID, we will have phone number, we will have DOB, we will have account type, first name, last name, email. Let me just quickly check the. Okay, so I think this should be enough for the demo. Okay, there's one more thing, approval status. Okay, now we will create a staging table or a staging. We will create a class that will map these properties. Okay, and that we will leverage to read the data from the file and put it on the clipboard. So let's first add this data model. We will say account staging. Okay, that's okay. Let it be in the application. All right, so let's add those fields. First name, last name, email ID, phone number. We can reuse the properties or we can reuse the classes as well, but for this demo we are just creating it ourselves. Phone number, DOB, account type, recipe text, right? Well, we will have boolean. Okay, true or false. All right. Okay, so at the moment we will make this as a table, and in the first demo we will basically read the data from the file and save it in this class. Okay, that's what we are going to do. So let's configure the source, and we will say let Pega manage the GUID primary key. So we will say PYGUID. This is the primary key. Submit. All right. Just one thing. Open the class record, and we will say it's managed by Pega. All right. So our data model is ready. I've created a location here on my computer. All right. See account. That's where we will put the data. So let's create a service package now. Okay. That's the next thing. So this is the service package which are already created. I'm going to create another one, file listener FL. That's what I will name it. Create and open. So see, this is the package. It's going to have the stateless processing. We need to specify the access group which will be leveraged to process that. So at the moment I'm just going with the admin access. Requires authentication basic. So if you do that, we will have to pass the authentication, but that will be the topic of authentication session. So at the moment I'm just going to uncheck that. So no authentication is required. All right. So this package is created now. FL. The next thing that we need is service. All right. So file service. This one service file, and we will create say account file. Package is the one that we just created, FL. This is just put it customer, create and open. Right. So where are we going to run the file listener? We will at the moment take our work class. Okay. We will put it on the work class. So that is CB. You can have it in the data or wherever you want. Okay. CB OBS work. Yeah. If you not need to run any data transform before that, for example, if you want to have first name, last name concatenated to get you the full name, you can have that running as well here, but that's okay. Execution mode, synchronous or asynchronous. We will have synchronous, that means immediate processing, no queuing or anything. Request processor, basically we are not going to have any other request processor. We are going to configure everything in the method. Okay. With this one, let's go to the method. So how do we want to process the file? One record at a time or the entire file? Okay, a file at a time. We will do one record at a time. Okay, record at a time. What is going to be the record terminator? Okay, so when you are going to have one record completed, so it's usually new line or new tab, but here I'm going to use semicolon. Okay, so when we will put the semicolon, that will be one record. You can have a length as well if you want to in the byte. Record identifier, usually we have in the file we have header, footer, and then information. That's when we will use it. That's okay. Zero means or head means that it is header record, don't process it. Then main record, and then footer, don't process it, right? But in this demo we are going to use only one type of record, so nothing relevant here. We will process them in the text mode. You can have it in the binary mode as well. Okay. um, Request. Now this is where basically we will get the request. We will start processing the request. Okay, that is basically file content. So once this may be repetitive, so leave the other things at the moment. We are not using file record type, otherwise we will say zero. That, let's say that this is header. Okay, so let me tell you. So if we have header, we will have something called zero as a record type in the beginning, and then all the records will have one, 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 and footer maybe nine. So we will say, okay, if you find first letter as a zero, record type zero, that means header, process it only once. Okay, footer all, and then we will have main record type, and then third we will have footer, process it only once as well, right? And this could be one. This is main record. If you have multiple record type in the file, but in our demo we will just use one record type, that is the main records. We will not have header or footer. Okay, so let's remove this. We don't need this, and we will process it. Now next thing is map to. How are you going to map the record? Okay, so here we will use delimited parse rule. Okay, and we need to create a parse rule. We don't have any parse rule at the moment. So our record will be comma separated. Okay, we will have comma separated records. So let's create a parser. Record type, you can say account, that is okay, or and this is basically process account parser. Okay, let's create and open. So this is going to be delimited by comma. Escape character is, if you have this, then escape this backslash. All right, now remember, this is in the work class. We have already identified one record here, right? And now in that one record or in that one line, we are going to identify multiple sub records. That's where what we are doing in the parser, right? So all the sub records, I mean name, first name, last name, those are separated by or delimited by comma, right? And we will read them into the clipboard page directly on the clipboard. To store that, we need a property like I explained, right, in the work class. So we will create a property, um, account staging, okay, in the work class, and this will be of page type. single page, and it will hold the data for the data model that we created, and which was staging, this one. So that's where we will store the data. Okay. Now you need to follow the sequence here. Okay. So whatever sequence you are going to specify here, that should match. So first thing that we are expecting the user to send is first name. This is just a description, no property, nothing here. You can put anything. Okay. First name, but that's going to be the first record that should come in the file. Okay. So this is going to be stored in dot account staging dot first name, right? Similarly, is it required? Yes. If that is missing, the record will fail. Okay. Last name, this is just for the reading purpose. This is again going to be in the clipboard, and last name. Okay. This is required to email ID, again clipboard, dot account staging email ID. This is required to. Then we will have what next? Let me just select all the things here first. Clipboard, DOB, phone number. Okay. Account type, approval. Okay. So this is date of birth. This is phone number. You don't have to specify that. Okay, it's not mandatory, but let's just do that. Account type and approval. So I'm marking date of birth mandatory as well, account type mandatory as well. Okay, rest of the things, these two can be blank as well. All right. Do we want to drain the remaining data? If there is in the line there are additional rows, let's just uncheck that. We will have everything there. Remove that. Okay. All right. So this parser is ready, right? Now let's go back to the service rule and select that parser. So account parser. Okay. Next, you need to provide an activity. Create an activity that will process the record. Once you have got it on the service page, basically, so this will be stored after processing. This will be stored on this pages. This is the page. On this page, there will be another page, the page property account staging. That's where the data will be. Okay. So, hold on. This is. Let me close this. Close this one. So, and let's create the activity in the request. So we will say process account file. Okay. Create and open. Now remember, this will have access to this service page that is there on that you defined here. Okay. My service page. Let's just have it in the pages and classes, even though this will be the primary page. You don't really need to specify that, but for the sake of clarity. Okay. All right. So what we will do is, on this service page, there will be a property called account staging, the one that we created, that we mapped with the clipboard. That property is something that we will copy into another page. That is page property. Okay, so we will create a temporary account staging page on the clipboard. I mean, we can directly save that, but let's just copy that page into a temporary page, and then we will save it. Okay, so this is going to be of again data class, the one in which you need to save it. So this one. Okay, so first step that we are going to do is page copy. We will copy the page from the my service page. So this is my service page. Property name is this one. So we will copy page property. That's why we can copy it from this one to the page that we have created. Okay, and next thing that we are going to, very basic at the moment, we are just trying to insert it into the table. Okay, after reading from the file obj save. We will do a right now just so that we can immediately see the result. Okay, sorry, not this page. We will save the account stage page on which we copied, and ideally we should remove the staging page, but for the maybe we need it for the debugging, so at the moment I will not remove it. Okay, so this is done, activity is done. Now let's complete this process file. Right, so the service is complete. Okay, next thing that we need to do is create a file listener which will trigger the service, right? So file listener is here. Let's create one process account file. So this time we are just processing one record from the file. If there are more than one record, it will skip that. So this demo is dedicated to process one record. In the next demo, we will read one line in the file. In the next demo, we will read multiple line from the file and process one by one. Okay. Anyway, this is going to be the same. So source location, where you want to read the file. So this is the location, C drive. File name mask, I will say account hyphen. After account, whatever it should start with the account. Okay, start. Service package, FL, service class, customer, method, account file. You can check the test connectivity if you are able to read the location. Okay, so this is all done. That means as soon as you have it, it should be ready. Okay, now on the account, let's create a few files. So I will create test file, text document. Okay, and I'll maintain the data here, and then we will keep on making a copy of this one to test it. Okay, so these are the information we need, right? So let's say Rahul okay, it should be in the same order as we mentioned there in the parser. Okay, so first name, last name, and then email, and date of birth. So date of birth is going to be, so in Pega the date of birth is recognized like this: year, month, date, and then DOB. After DOB you have phone number. Okay, then you have account type, saving bank account, and then we have approval status. We will mark it as true. Okay, all right, so there I will have more than one record here, but it will process only one record because that's how we have done it. So Rahul 1 1 one just to differentiate. Okay. All right. So let's save it. And this is going to act as a base file for us. As soon as I copy this file with the name account, this will be available for processing, account one. Okay. Because in the file listener, we have said that we will look at the file that starts with the account. Okay. All right. Now let's go back to the admin studio and to refresh. So let's create our file list. Start our file listener. Okay, it's not running by default. So this is the process account file. Let's apply. So this will now start running. Let's trace this one. Okay, let's see if the file is processed. Okay, so file is gone. Okay, so Pega creates a couple of folders there, reports, where it will put reports about the files, and completed files. Okay, by default setting is that it will remove it or move it to the completed, but that's all right. Let's see if we have records in that table. The tracer did not pick it up. We will see that shortly. Okay, so where is our account staging table? No, no record. One quick thing though. So we are doing obj save. Okay, fine. We will have to just do the tracing again. Oh, it hasn't run it. Oh, sorry. This one actually picked it up. So what I'll do is I'll stop this tracer, the other file listener, and we will put it again back. So let me just close this tracer, start tracing it again. All right, and move the file one more time with account 2. Let's wait for the tracer. All right, so we got the data, but there's a warning to say property approval has been truncated. Okay, approval status. That should have been fine, but that's okay. Let's see what do we have here. So see, this is the data we provided, right? DOB, SVA approval. Oh, okay. So actually, the second line was basically, yeah. So yeah. So that's okay. We are able to read the data properly, right? Just one small change we will do here. So what we will do is the terminator, the record terminator is something we are going to update to second FL service method. Okay, so record terminator we are, oh sorry, we had put it there, but we did not terminate our record in the file. So that caused the issue, but that's okay. Let's put the record terminator here. Anyway, this is designed to read only one file at one record at a time from one row, basically in the file. So let's just test this one more time. Um, Same file, accounts. Let's wait for the tracer. All right, so the tracer has executed. Let's see. So this has the data. What's the warning about? DOB has been truncated 8. Okay, because of the length issue. That's fine. So we are able to read the data. Let's see if we have that in the table as well. So these two records, that's what we inserted, right? And these are properly populated. DOB was truncated, so that's okay. It's a database property. We can look into the property label. handling of this. So this demo basically talks about setting up the file listener, what how does it relate to the file service and package, and how this parser comes into the picture to read the file content and then activity which processes it. In the next demo, we are going to discuss about reading multiple lines from the file and then storing it into a table.